job world, right? A lot of people here. Okay. And a few more. That this gave them a job to do every day, and they needed that. They needed something to grab onto to know, am I moving in the right direction? This is all about just a checklist. And how do I get to 30 points? And there's these activities you may be familiar with. Call a new lead, okay? Follow up with a call or text, 1 point. Write handwritten notes. Chris Bradley's the queen of that. She can show you how to do that. It's really, really easy. By the way, people like getting handwritten notes. It's really, really effective. 1 point. So door knock, not for me. Not going to do 25 doors, you get 10 points. So if you're desperate and it's warm out, you could do that, right, Nanette? Where's Nanette? There she is. She door knocks, man. She does it. Host an open house, okay? Have an open house on a Saturday or Sunday, and you just hit 10 points on this thing. So look and see. Not all these things are going to be part of what you're doing. By the way, write an offer. The stuff that really makes us money, signed by our agency, listings taken, that can knock out the bulk of it right there. But most days we're not, I'll tell you, in real estate, most days you're not writing an offer, you're not signing a buyer or seller. Sorry about that. It's just not what we do every single day. But by the way, these are the activities that make those things happen. So we've got to figure out some way to get into habit, guys. I don't care what it is that sparks you. You've got your focus group, which is now starting to get some traction. Few people are having, oh my gosh, I think I have a deal now that I wouldn't have got, but I was forced by Brandy to do my activities. So whatever it takes, and 30 points might seem like a lot, then start with 10, start with 15, whatever that's going to be, but get that piece of paper. I highly recommend the paper. And that's your job for the day, 5 days a week. That's your job. If you miss and don't get to your goal, catch up the next day, get there. Okay. If you guys will get into these habits, it will then become just secondary and you're good to go. Remember starting back at the gym, we all get in those little kicks where we get back in the gym. First week, does it just stink? Right? Stink, right? That's one of your words. It stinks. But then once you get used to it, you're just going to the gym. Your car just drives there, right? In fact, you just know it's going to happen. We've got to do that with these businesses if we want them to be sustainable and predictable versus just a cork on the water where we have an amazing quarter and then we stink, and then an amazing quarter, then we stink. So think about how to incorporate this into your world. I think this is the most simple thing I've seen in my time here that we've got to figure out how to get this to permeate throughout our organization.
Created this or was talking about it, was it more do the same thing each day or roughly sort of that consistency, or was it a do these one day and then mix it up? Was that evaluated?
The whole point about the reason she actually did it is because she's a workaholic and she never knew when to turn it off and go to bed for the night. And so this was a way for her to evaluate, because some days you go to bed and go, I didn't even make any money today. What did I even do? And so for her, that was the whole gist around it for her. Now came out of the James Shaw group, the focus group he has. And that's where it was created. But we actually, I've used it in the coaching role with the newer agents to say, hey, these are the activities. Let's not make a flyer for the next 6 hours. Let's, if you notice, make a flyer isn't on here. Yes, it's a part of what we do, but it's not worth any point. So no, she didn't say anything about that.
Tell me what the points are for these activities, because I see you guys are really good at these. Car wash. Take the car to the car wash. Nope. Oh, that should be something. Dog, cat, horse, any of the animals.
No animals.
Pick up kids, grandkids from school.
But no.
Aw. Dry cleaning? Got to be on there. No? Well, those are the clothes I wear for work, though. You guys get it? Yeah. Lunch? Okay, that kind of stuff. Those are the things that take us away from being able to focus for 60 or 90 minutes to knock out 30 points on here. Teams, you guys, if you'll get your teams to start doing this, their productivity, now by the way, it seldom just shows up automatically, right? This is all just part of building over time on task over time. But just figure it out, guys. I'm telling you, this is just so basic. So.
Yep. I've got these hard copies, and I'll put the digital copy on Facebook. I'm going to skip over the next slide because this topic actually leads into 2 slides away to my focus group. And I want to talk about focus because we talk about the activity tracker and having focused activities. You could fill your day with nail appointments, car washes, dry cleaning, dog to the groomer, all the things, and not have ever moved the needle in your business. It's very possible. We've all done it. We've had those days and we get to bed and like, dang it, I didn't do the stuff. And so this helps us stay focused. But the power of focus And this is the whole point. Yes, it's about the focus group. And we are starting to see, we've been doing this about 2 months. And we're starting to see some results. We're starting to see some activity. It's taken us just a minute to get something going here. And we're starting to see the people that are engaging in it. They're starting to see some momentum and activity. It's kind of like, I always tell a new agent, getting your business going is kind of like a locomotive sitting at the station. It takes a lot of power, a lot of energy, and a lot of time to get that thing going. But once it gets going, it gets easier. Once it gets going, the momentum starts to pick up. And so that's what focus is, actually a force multiplier. So if we can focus on something, a good analogy would be the sun. The sun is warm. The sun is warm. Now I get in the winter, it's not as warm, but we all know the sun is warm. But that's not, the sun is not out starting fires all over the place. But if you took a magnifying glass and you focused on something, it multiplies the sun and the rays, and I don't know all the physics behind it, but we can start a fire with that. Have you ever done that? Have you ever done that? Start a fire on some burnt leaves, or burned up some ants or something as a kid, Gen X without technology, we were left alone and we doing stuff like that. But if you have energy, we all have so much energy in a day, and if it's scattered, then we're creating motion, but we're not necessarily creating momentum. So we can be doing all the things, we can be busy, we can be gone from your house from 8 to 5 or 8 to 8 and still maybe not have created some momentum for yourself and for your business if you weren't super focused. I understand all those things have to get done. We got to pick the kids up from school, we got to get the dog to the groomer, but make sure we're not doing just those things. And so the sun can warm you all day long, but if you have enough focused energy, you actually can start a fire. That's the same with our business. We can do a bunch of stuff. We can make a bunch of flyers. We can make a bunch of social media posts, which are good. Please make some. But don't focus all your time and energy there, right? So let's figure out, by using your activity tracker, where to focus our energy. So most of y'all, you're great agents. You don't lack talent. You don't lack skills. You don't lack opportunity or even desire. What we lack is focus. That's the biggest problem with real estate agents. We lack focus and focusing our time. And guys, here's the thing. It doesn't actually take 8 to 5. We don't even have to focus 8 to 5. We just need to focus about 2 to 3 hours a day. What could we do with a focused 2 hours a day? Think about that. So that's what the focus group is about. It makes us stop for 1 hour and we are not doing anything else, but we're jumping on this Zoom call together and we're going to call people. Because you never know, because one little touch of your database turns into an appointment. One conversation can turn into a buyer that you're looking for. And then if you can do this consistently and build habits, you're building a business. You're building something that's going to take off. You're getting that locomotive out of the station. And it comes consistently, time on task over time. We hear that all the time. And in real estate, and honestly in life, being distracted is very expensive. It's very expensive to be distracted. It costs you a lot. And I think we don't even realize how much being distracted costs us. So I want you to start being mindful of that. And I'm not asking you to give me 8 to 5 every day. We do focus group twice a week. That's 2 hours a week. And I will tell you, as a personal testimony from my own self, I've been on every call. Oh, I did have to miss one. But I've been on every call, and what I'm finding, and Christian, I think, would attest to this, and Allie would attest to this, and others that have been on there consistently, that activity's starting to pick up. Activity's starting to pick up. Here's something. We're doing the DTD2 method of following our getting through our database. And here's what, I can't explain this, guys. I said it last time, I'm going to say it again. What is happening is, yes, we're having great conversations. Yes, we're watering the seeds. We're nurturing our database. We're reaching out and we're touching people. We're doing the things. We're updating the database. We're cleaning it up. If that person moved that away, I've archived already like 5 people in the last 2 months of people that I'm like, okay, I'm not probably ever going to do business with them. Let's get them out. I hate doing that. I never used to do that, but I'm to the point where I'm going, let's run this like a real business. Let's not have fake people in our database just because it makes the number look better. So what we're finding is, by doing these habits, being committed to do the activities, things are showing up in our world. And it's not coming from, I'm calling and setting all kinds of listing appointments. I'm getting random calls saying, hey, I got your name and number from from Jan. She told me I need to call you, come list my father-in-law's house. Okay, cool. And then another guy, he's been in my world for 3 years, dripping on him constantly. He's not in my DTD too. I haven't called him, but he called me and said, hey, we're moving to Colorado. I need you to come list my house. I'm like, okay. Guys, I've been in this job for 2.5 years and I kind of let my business go. And I wish I didn't, but I did. And I let it just kind of die a little bit as far as my lead gen. I put all my effort and energy into learning how to be a team leader. And therefore my personal business kind of suffered, and it's taken me a minute to get it back. But I'm telling you, you can get it back. Or you can create it in the first place. Okay, real quick, I'm almost done. Focus isn't about doing more. Focus is about doing the things that are going to move the needle for you. I'm not asking you to do more. Let's just focus on what is the one thing that if you did it today would make everything else in your world easier. Would it be easier if you sold one extra house per month? Would that make your world easier? It would make mine easier. So I'm making more money, right? More money makes things easier. So I need a lead gen to make sure I do that. But it's about deciding what matters most and giving that your full strength. Here's the last slide I have. You can take, because I like analogies, you can take and plant 10 seeds in a row and you water those 10 seeds every day. That's better than taking 100 seeds and just scattering them around and hoping that some of them grow. You have a better chance focusing on the 10 seeds than just tossing out the rest and hoping they make it.
Like
So
that.
that's
Cool.
what we need to be doing with our database here. Because consistency plus concentration will bring the harvest that we want in the form of closed sales. So that's anybody could use a little more focus in your world besides me. I think we all can. All right, so that's what I got there. Do you have anything about focus?
Yeah. Shocker, huh? You guys were hitting us pretty hard with focus and the point system and things like that. It would make you think that maybe we had a gap in our business as a market center, like our people need to be more productive. The reality is, I just got the numbers from the 28 market centers in the Midwest. You guys are really close to the top of the heap at productivity per agent, which means our environment is kicking butt. We are absolutely killing it. But we're greedy, and that's how we are as leaders. We want our people to go to even the next level. So not only the sales per agent in our office is through the roof, guess what else is? The commission per side, okay? Which means you guys are skilled and talented and you've been trained. So when you're sitting across the desk from a buyer or seller, you're getting paid what you deserve to get paid. Okay. If you want to be the guy out there taking 1% listings, you'll probably end up with a bunch of listings, but you'll probably have a business that's set up for failure, right? Ryan, how many 1% listings do you take in a given year? Yeah, it's just not it's really not what we're looking to do, right? If you're the car dealer selling $60,000 trucks for 30, how long is that business going to last, right? Kind of same thing, doesn't work. But we want productivity to continue to grow. I'm going to keep harping on productivity environment. The focus group helps with that. I still believe we have an opportunity. Obviously at team meeting, it's busy in here, right? We got people standing everywhere. Sorry, I'm not going to build a new building just for team meeting. But the reality is we have people coming together to learn and grow, and we need more of that. I want to get the environment in here every day. Steve, you're in here almost every day, to your credit. And it's kind of fun to watch the highs and lows with your investment deal or your Kansas City deal. We've been doing that for a while. But I want more of that going on. I want Christian came in the other day. He bops in and he's like, hey, I'm in multiple offers, which I'm getting ready to talk about in a second. And it was his first time multiple offers with a seller since he's been with our organization. So it was kind of fun to walk through that and train a little bit. But we want to get better, okay? We could easily just look at the numbers and our regional directors like, LB, you guys got it figured out, and hey, thanks. Or we could just continue to go gas pedal down, and when this market really starts to run, we can absolutely change lives. I mean, really can change lives. Your average commission last year was $9,450 per side. So I need 12 deals to get to about $115,000 GCI business. That's what that looks like. And that's a legit business. That's one deal a month, guys. We're not talking about 3 deals a month. Let's start with getting to 12 transactions. Now, some of you guys are like, oh, my average GCI per transaction is less than that because my average sales price is less than that. That's okay. Then let's set that number a little bit higher. Many of you guys in here, especially ones doing a lot of acreages, your numbers are actually quite a bit higher than our market average. So you may not even need that many deals to get to that number. So just Yeah, so we're jazzed. We're
We're
excited.
jazzed, guys, because we see the potential. Y'all are the best agents in Cass County, and, you know, if you just had even a little more focus, oh my goodness, you know, we got a fire burning up, you know. So, all right, last thing I have, I definitely want to let you know, we do have a missing persons alert. We are hiring. So catch you up on what's going on with our front desk. So Rachel at the front has been filling in for us about 3 months. I think she's been with us. She's recently gotten a job, and tomorrow will be her last day with us. She was a temp, she was a fill-in this whole time, and we really appreciate her bringing a lot of stability to that front desk area for us. She leaves us tomorrow. She would become the MCA / director of first impressions for Keller Williams Shawnee. So she's moving over there. So she'll still be in our KW world. And we're excited through this position, through this company, she got that connection. So we're excited for her. You see her, wish her well. She's super excited about that. Now, if you notice, normally we're hiring for the director of first impressions. We're changing that position to more of an agent services type position. Something more than just answering phones, checking mail, stuff like that. We're looking for somebody that can help our agents and help our agents with command and dot loop. And so we're looking for a person who knows a little bit of something about real estate. It is still answering phones, checking mail, doing that. However, it is also somebody who understands a little bit about contracts and just not a lot, just a little bit, you know, and knows enough. Maybe somebody that gave it a go in real estate and it wasn't what they thought, and they're looking for something Monday through Friday. Let me know. Connect me with this person. And we thought we had our person, and then it didn't work out. So here we are. So now I'm ready to find our next person. So keep me in mind if you do know somebody that might fit. All right, Mr. Lonning.
Cool. No more cartwheels?
No more
Dang
stuff.
it. I really like that. And by the way, introduce Brandy to different people, and maybe that role's not for them, but maybe getting them in our world as they could be a real estate agent. You never know where these conversations are going to go. Ryan Finn set me up with Brandy and Caesar 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago. At my club, we had a drink and didn't know where that was going. Look where it ended up, right? Thank goodness, right? Yeah, so thank you, Ryan. Good job. Okay, let's talk about some stuff that's coming up really, really honest quickly, kind of surprising me a little bit. Multiple offers. Let's see, Christian, you were in multiple offers with a seller, right? Okay, who else? Anybody in multiple offers so far this year? Yeah, I've heard a few of you talking about it. So, especially from the median price ranges and down. So let's just say in Lee Summit, that's 400,000 and lower. And in Raymore, let's call it 350 and lower, and Belton, maybe 300 and lower, okay? Those price ranges are going to be compressed again. Or the good houses especially are likely going to get a lot of attention very quickly. So multiple offers is to be expected, okay? So that shouldn't bother you too much. By the way, if you're on the seller side, it's not bad, right, Christian? Not so bad, okay? Did you get all those in the first weekend? Is that how many offers? 6. Okay. It's a good problem to have. Good problem to have. But we have to know how to manage that. Okay. So we'll talk just for a second. I want to talk a little bit about the seller side of that. So if you're representing a seller and multiple first of all, let's say you have a $300,000 house in Raymore, it's a cream puff, and you're kind of thinking this is going to go multiple offers first weekend, I wouldn't tell the seller that's how that's going to play out. Okay. Guess what happens if Monday there's not multiple offers? Right? Disappointed already. You've been in business with them for 3 days. So maybe let them know, hey, this is possible, but we just never know until we get the process rolling. But when and if it happens, stop and all of a sudden here comes, let's just use his example, 6 offers. Okay. Now he's got a choice to make based on what is in the seller's best interest. Is what's he going to do with these 6 offers? Okay. Let's assume they're all relatively close to each other. Okay. First of all, you do have the option at any time, and you guys have seen the corporate sellers do this, where they'll just go back to all the agents and go, hey, here's the deal. Thanks for your offer. Highest and best due by Tuesday at 5 p.m. Has anybody ever seen that? Okay. We do that a lot when we get multiple, like 4 or 5 or something. Let's let them clean it up. Sometimes they'll go back to their client and go, hey, we're up against 4 offers. We may have to do this, this, or this. And sometimes you even get somebody that'll pull out and just go, yeah, we don't want to be a part of this stuff. I can live with that. That to me is a good trade-off. So you have the opportunity to post highest and best, okay? By the way, if you do that and you're representing a seller, give yourself plenty of time. give them plenty of time. If you're asking them to revisit with their client, don't give them 3 hours, right? Give them 24 hours, okay? If you want to get the best opportunity to get the best results. Does that make sense? So, but set that guideline. And if that guideline's 5 o'clock on Tuesday, let them know that you'll be making a decision by end of day Wednesday. You guys get that? Otherwise, your phone's going to blow up at 6 p.m. right after the expiration. And by the way, that's what agents are doing all the time because I'm involved in some of those deals. Don't put yourself under that kind of pressure. Say, hey, we're going to collect these offers. 5 p.m. is our deadline. We'll during the business day Wednesday, we'll be getting with the seller. Not sure if it's morning, afternoon, or what, but by the end of the business day, we likely will have had a conversation with them and made a selection. You guys get that? That they'll take the heat off you that first night. Has anybody had any experience, running any experience with any of that? Okay, there you go. Good.
So frustrating, but you're trying to get back to the date at the same time. So like to your point, buy yourself time, let them know when you're gonna stop taking off. And then let them know when you're going to client and lie to them about that and make it a couple hours later after. You gotta buy yourself some time. You gotta be able to work, you gotta be able to think and process. Otherwise, you're gonna make a mistake on your client's behalf. It can be costly.
Yeah.
Dance partner.
Yeah. By all means. I mean, if you have 5 or 6 people to pick from, you better pick a good one, right? Okay. So let's pivot into, okay, we're representing buyers. And this is a little more common. You guys are working with buyers. They're in multiple offers. You get the notice from Lonnie Branson, listing agent, going, hey, thanks for the offer. We have multiples. You have till Tuesday at 5. So multiple offers. Let's talk about the bigger rocks within multiple offers. And I've got some notes here. First of all, the listing agent has to be somebody you can communicate with, okay? If you're just going to ship an offer out there knowing it's a hot house, that you're a very low chance you're getting the house regardless, whether there's multiples or not. I always say reach out to the listing agent. Now, they don't always call us back. Would you guys agree with that? Okay, text can work too. But just say, ask what's important to the needs of the seller. Okay, if Silas is all fired up because he's got a cash buyer and he's going to offer me a 21-day closing, but I have a seller that's buying a house in Colorado and closing in 45 days, 21-day closing doesn't do us any good, right? So he thought he was being cool doing that. Actually, he was working against himself. So have the conversation and say, hey, what's in the seller's interest here? And what I would have said is, well, my people are closing on a place in Colorado, Silas, in 45 days. So if we could sync those closings up, boy, your offer would look great. And what would even be better is if you gave us 2 days from closing to actually move, because we're going to have a Mayflower truck showing up that's really expensive. And I'd really like it not to show up until your people sign on the dotted line. And if Silas is going to go back to his people and see if those are kind of things they might want to do. That's how you sweeten your offer. And sometimes you're not even the highest price, but because you have the best setup for the seller, you get the house. You guys get that? Price is one component. It is the one we talk about the most, okay? And by the way, net price is what matters. So $300,000 and $300,000 with $5,000 in closing costs and a warranty are not the same offer. We get that? If you're in multiples and you're representing a buyer, it is very difficult to be the winner if you're going to ask for concessions, okay? I'm not saying it can't happen, and I've seen you guys pull it off. We get to see your contracts, but it is more difficult. Would you guys agree? Yeah, it is. So if you can figure out, okay, but they need $5,000 in closing costs. Todd, can you still do gift letters from family members for closing costs? Okay, we can find that money from, in many cases, that money can be found without having to go through the seller. Okay. Now, what you guys do is you continue to write strong offers with $5,000 in closing and warranty, and you can't figure out why you keep finishing third and fourth, right? And you're like, man, I'm offering them full price. First of all, that ain't full price. 300 with 5,000 in concessions is $295 net. You guys get that? Okay, so keep that in mind. And I can't tell you how many offers I get from agents all over the city, and one company in particular, and they'll go, hey, I'm sending you a full price office, Branson. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's great. This guy's a knucklehead. I'm surprised. And then all of a sudden, here comes the offer, $5,000 in closing and a warranty and all kinds of other stuff, throw in the fridge and firstborn. That's not full price, guys. So think about that. But communicate with the agent and ask the right questions. What kind of tempo does that seller want? Fast closing, long closing. All those sorts of things are really, really important. Pre-approval letter, if your pre-approval letter says on it, Silas is going to submit an offer with his favorite lender, and he just happens to read on there as he's sending it over, says subject to verifying employment, assets, and credit. Then what was pre-approved? Their name, right? That they're a Libra? I don't, what exactly is pre-approved there? I don't get that. And by the way, we get those all the time. Now, we have a process on my team that I have to stop and pick up the phone and call whatever that bank is that's on that letter. In almost every single, we got one over the weekend. Good bank, good lender. And I said, hey, Jim, what's going on here? I said, I've got your pre-approval. We want to do business with your people, but I noticed they got this pre-approval 30 days ago and it says it's subject to all this stuff. And he goes, oh no, we had that at that time. They've already been desktop underwritten. They're good to go. Could I get a letter that says that? And he did. He got me a clean one. But that agent didn't stop to even read what they were sending me. You guys get that? Luckily, they weren't multiple offers. If they were multiple offers, that might have missed for them. Okay. I'm not going to grade lenders. Todd's a good lender. There's a lot of good ones out there. But also, if your people insist on using XYZ lender out of who knows where, they're at a disadvantage in multiple offers. Sorry about that. That's how that works. So if all things are equal and I have no idea who the lender is, I see somebody posted the other day, Navy Credit Union. Who posted that? Was that you? Good. Yeah, right in the spit zone. Awesome. But you didn't know Navy Credit Union, right? Okay, they're okay, by the way, I think. But sometimes these credit unions, especially if they're on the West Coast, they're not as sensitive to our closing dates. Okay, I will say there was a time Navy Credit Union back 10 years ago could care less about your closing date. They have learned to work with realtors better now, and they're just fine. So that's why I didn't say anything bad. But 10 years ago, if you asked me, I'd go, yeah, you're going to have to watch them like a hawk. Okay. So just my experience. But don't expect to have a great chance to get it if these people are with some obscure lender in the middle of nowhere. Is anybody working with any buyers right now that insist on using a weird lender? By weird, I mean just somebody we don't know. Okay, it's cool. But just know people might ask you that. Okay, hey, who is this? I don't know these people. Okay, that kind of thing. So it can be a disadvantage. So the pre-approval letter, be sure that we can reduce the number of what ifs in that pre-approval letter, right, Todd? Okay, it's really, really important. Yep. Yeah. So besides price, what else is important to the seller? We just talked about closing and possession. That's a big piece of it. You have to ask, otherwise you'll never know. I have an offer supposedly coming in on one we have over in Shadowwood. The agent's shown it twice, which is great. They gave us feedback, which is great. And then the last one just said, it looks like we'll be structuring an offer. Okay, that agent hasn't even engaged me about closing times, dates, anything. They're just going to structure an offer. And I was like, and it's a Keller Williams agent who's very experienced. I'm like, that surprises me. They wouldn't have called and said, LB, it looks like we're going to write you an offer. What are you looking for? That kind of thing. So I guess I'll just wait and see what they want to do. That's not how you want to do it. Trust me. You want to have some communication. Again, I believe if you give a seller a little bit of time to move, for my sellers, that's really important. If it's a vacant house, nobody cares, right? But if a seller can know that you've signed on the dotted line before they truly load up and move to their next destination, that peace of mind is worth something, okay? It really is. The worst thing that ever happened in my career early on was my people went ahead, the closing, let's say, was on a Friday. Their truck showed up Friday morning. The deal did not close that Friday. They were on down the road, and it never closed. Yeah, that was no good. No bueno. So if I would have done that differently, I would have had it closed Wednesday before the truck got there, right? Then we'd know they're closed with possession on Friday, and that would have averted that. We would have still had the same problem. The deal never closed, but they wouldn't have moved themselves out of state. Todd?
I can communicate with them on, borrower, things like that, especially if it's, DA, I hate to say it, but I have to always call them because I want to make sure they understand that it's not a bad offer. That's just our disabled veteran has, if it's right, put $100,000 down, don't get, and so I've had a half dozen in the last years work their way through on me making a call to relieve that concern.
Yeah, Christian, on your 6 offers, did any of the lenders actually reach out to you directly?
One did.
I didn't know that. That was pure luck. Yeah, no, that's a good thing too. I'll get those messages when I have an offer. In fact, I'll get it when it's not multiple offers. It'll be North American or whomever just call and said, hey, LB, just we're the lender on that. You got our pre-approval letter. If you have any questions, give us a call. These people are golden. Work with them many times. That's all I need to hear. I mean, that's fantastic. I don't even have to pick up the phone. That's on my voicemail or text. That's doing business at a high level. And how long did that take that lender to do? Yeah, 60 seconds, right? To get to his people the house. Okay, let's talk about some of the things that the tools that are out there. The one you guys probably use the most in multiple offers is the escalation clause. Who's used an escalation clause in here? No? Okay, that's not as many people as I thought. Okay, or we're not raising our hand this morning, which is fine too. The escalation clause simply says, here's our offer. We will go 2,000 above any other offer to a certain point. You guys good with that? Okay, that's it. If you don't know escalation clauses and how they work, please get a copy of one and start off by reading it. Okay, it's pretty basic. It's pretty. Silas, have you guys used them? Okay, it's pretty basic. It's not brain surgery. Okay, so you're simply saying, hey, this is an offer for 300, but my people will go to 310. They will go 1,000. It's all defined in there. 1,000 have been above any other bona fide offer up to that number. You guys get that? So if they call me and they go, hey, you got escalated to 310. Good news, you got the house. What will they do? First of all, I'm excited. The agent will then send me a copy of the offer that finished second to us that escalated us to that amount. And if you read the escalatory addendum, it will tell you how that works. Any questions on that? Ryan, anything to add? Kind of it, isn't it? Yeah, we're good, Silas? Good, all right. So really important document. You'll see that this spring and summer. I got a feeling a ton. And especially if you're doing 400,000 and below, at least some at maybe even 500,000 and below. So you're going to see that. And we've seen $1 million houses in here in multiple offers. So we did one in Lockwood, 1.15 million. We had 3 people bidding on it the first day. I mean, what? That's crazy. We won, by the way, because I just pulled out the sheet and it worked out really well. So that's an important tool. That tool is used poorly every single day by agents all over the city except ours. If you put in there, my people will go 500 above any other offer. $500 in a contract in real estate doesn't mean anything. You are likely, that's not going to sway my seller $500, okay? Especially if they maybe like the down payment or the type of financing on the other one a little better or whatever variable, your 500 is going to mean nothing. Go 1,000 or 2,000 above any bona fide offer. You guys get that? Then those things become less important. So that's just my take on it, and I look at them from the seller side all the time. Any questions on it? You guys know what I'm talking about? Okay, we've trained on this. And by the way, there's nothing new here. This is the same thing we train on every year, right? But we need a little refresher because these are going to start to show up in our world in a big way. If Todd can ever get the rates really down, what are rates right now?
Lower 6s, upper 5s in the government.
We're still in the 6s? Go ahead and boo Todd right now. Boo. Okay, there you go. They're coming. Yeah, we've heard that before. Free beer tomorrow. So I saw that in a bar. That's my favorite. Darren's ears perked up. He's like, what? Free beer? What are we talking about? I'm sorry, I lost my train. Rates. Oh yeah. If these rates do come down and it correlates, 60. If rates come down this spring or summer, we could see this thing really expand very quickly. There was a time in COVID, it felt like everything was in multiples, okay? Not everything was, but it sort of felt like it there for a while, especially if we don't get a huge influx of inventory. It'll feel like that all along. So get polished on this. Understand the escalatory addendum very, very well on the seller and buyer side. Tony? Isn't that something? Yeah. And you will run into the occasional agent on the listing side that will not accept one. Crazy dinosaur. I don't know what to say. That's not representing their seller in the best interest, in my opinion, but I know we have a few people that look at it differently. So you have to play by that listing agent's rules, even if you're kind of biting your lip a little bit. More often than not, I think most of those people have slowly been swayed and now are a little more agreeable to working with Escalate. Because sometimes they'll just go, well, you just put your best foot forward. I'm like, okay, that's just cost your seller probably a lot of money, but okay, if that's what you guys doing, Andre, you guys escalatory addendums, do you guys do many deals with escalation? Fine. Oh, okay, good, there you go, good timing. Yeah, well, we're gonna start seeing them coming through this office quite a bit. So understand the tool first, understand how to use it for the buyer side and the seller side. You've got to do that, right? No.
Turn that in, and if you're a listing agent, you're a strong listing agent, freaking make one for them and put it in supplements. that shows if they're paying attention or not, and they'll pull that thing out, fill it out for you. It takes like 60 seconds to fill it out, but it illustrates what the offer looks like. And if you're having, if you got 5 or 6 offers, you're able to pull those and extract all that data and get it into a spreadsheet so you can show your seller what's going on. If you're a buyer agent, it shows that you know what the heck you're doing. And it also allows you to sum up your conversation that you had with Lonnie prior to of exactly what you were gonna do. This is you showing them exactly you're doing that, and it makes it easy for them to process that when you get those.
Just because you had a conversation with the listing agent, don't expect that they remembered everything you said, especially if they were talking to 4 or 5 different agents. Joanna?
Get your offer and then send them also a letter through, email. That here is my offer. Okay.
They'll see that cover sheet with that offer.
He puts it in his supplement.
That's what
You can see it on the
Yes,
supplement.
It's in the supplement. When you see the supplement section, you'll see that. And then we have something else that Seth puts in there as well. But we have all that it's all tied together. So you can't get around like, oh, I didn't see that one. When you got an agent that has 8 supplements, doesn't label any of them. Yeah, that's how you do it wrong. Label your supplement or look them all together, because if they're going to submit an offer, they've got to sign off on all those supplements. So have them put them all together and click on that.
You'll see some listing agents that have that, and just be sure that's part of it. Christian, on your 6 offers, did anybody do a cover letter? Okay, 0 for 6.
Love letter. This
Yeah,
is different.
this isn't the one, here's a picture of me and my dogs and all that kind of stuff. This is saying, hey, I know we talked the other day, Branson, but here's, just want to go over this. This guy's VA, we're paying this price, no concessions. We can close in 45 days. Our proposals close in 45 days. Sometimes they'll put a little asterisk, goes, by the way, we could be flexible on that. I like that. I like to hear those. What's that?
Move your commission.
Commission's not a bad thing. Yeah, if you want to get paid, that's always good. Yeah.
I have some clients that looked at a house, or looking at a house today, the listing agents with Remax. And they have a blanket cover letter that they put on their listing.
That's
to-
what
to
Brian's
be
talking
submitted.
about.
That's what he's talking about.
That their whole brokerage uses. Is that a form that we could?
Are you talking about the franchise disclosure?
No.
Oh.
No, it's a fill in the blank.
Yeah.
But-
Oh, the
It's
office
made-
did?
yeah,
Okay.
the office
Yeah.
made Their office listing. So that's-
In theory, but I think everybody likes to run their own play here, and we encourage everybody to do what
Yeah.
works best for them.
Feeling off there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing I would also say is make sure that you follow the directions. If this listing agent is asking you to do something specific, like, I don't like the .loop easy offer, button. I know you don't really see that anymore when you're writing an offer, but I've had to do that because, if you just disregard that, and you don't have to, but I feel like you're setting yourself on the wrong foot if they've asked you to send in the cover letter, fill that in, go use the .loop easy offer, something like that you can fix easily, do that. It sets the tone like, hey, I can follow directions.
Well, and no telling how much time Christian spent, digging through the paperwork of 6 offers. And if he had cover letters on each one, he could double check that the information on the cover letter is accurate. Wouldn't that be nice to just have 6 cover letters? And then, do a net sheet on the top 2 or whatever that looks like for your seller. That would have worked out really, really well. Let's talk about 2 other topics while we're here. Appraisal waiver. The people start, when they get really frothy, we start waiving appraisals, okay? Or portions of the appraisal. Simply put, I'm buying a house for 300 and I will waive the appraisal. In other words, whatever it appraises for, I'm still going to be able to close. That is an extremely aggressive thing for a buyer to do. Just be sure that correlates with what the lender's plans. In case it does appraise at 280, do they have the extra 20,000? You guys get where I'm going. In other words, can they cough up the cash? I think an appraisal waiver is a good idea, but it has to be used properly. Has anybody in here used an appraisal waiver? Okay, yeah. If we get hot, you're going to start seeing as-is addendums. I'll talk about that in a second. You're going to see people doing all kinds of escalatory addendums. All those things are in play. If you're not familiar with those documents, let's go ahead and get our hands on them. What a great thing to do at an open house, by the way. Maybe you have one of those open houses where the 20 people haven't quite come in yet. What a great time to read those things with a highlighter and make notes. Just an idea. So you can do a full waiver on an appraisal. It says, I don't care what it appraises at, I'm buying this house. That's really cool, by the way. Or you can do a partial. It says as long as, and where an appraisal waiver can really help you is if it's a $300,000 house and there's multiple bids, and you go up to, say you went up to 310 or 315, and you do an appraisal waiver of that gap, that really can help, because I know sometimes I take offers above list when I'm like, man, I don't even know if that thing's going to appraise. If they're also doing a waiver for that amount they went over list, you think we like that? You guys get that? That's best practices. Yeah.
And I can still wait for appraisal. If it does, then my buyer has needed appraisal. So then your true words of, we're gonna wait the appraisal is legit. It's literally kind of like Sandy or Freddie has already analyzed. The 310, it says 300.
Three other tools. Okay. Earnest money matters. If you want to write up a $400,000 house with a $500 earnest deposit, that they may not care. Some listing agents don't pay any attention to that. This one does. So you send me one of those, I'm probably just going to, even if there's not multiple offers, what's with the $500 deposit? Well, they're going VA. They don't need to put a lot of money down anyway. Okay. But I'd like to know that the people are in the saddle when my people start boxing and moving, that I have more than $500 of security in case they change their mind. You guys get that? The stickiness of a deal. People can, for $500, they'll walk away from anything. For 5,000, probably not. You guys get that? Big difference. So you want to solidify your deals. You want to kind of be sure they're strong. Think about those kind of things. Get into conversation with the listing or the agent. So if Silas sent me one of those offers with $500, I go, Silas, why the $500 earnest? Just out of curiosity. He goes, I know. He goes, I told him that's not going to be looked on very good. And I go, so if I counter you with a normal earnest deposit of $3,000 on a $500,000 house or $5,000, he goes, yeah. He goes, that they won't surprise him because I've told him 500 ain't going to work. Right? Those are good conversations to have. All right, let's talk about the in its present condition addendum or the as is addendum, box 1, 2, 3. You guys remember that document? If you're looking at me like I'm not sure I remember that one, go ahead and get a copy of that too and read through what those look like. Box 1 is the one that says I can inspect, right? But I can't ask for any repairs.
Yeah.
Box 2 says,
Then you can cancel
Yeah.
based on inspection.
right, of course, yeah. Box 2, you're going to do an inspection just for your information. That's the one that gets,
Cancel.
can't cancel. So you're just going to do an inspection. Box 3 says I'm doing no inspections nor a right to cancel because I'm not doing any inspections. You guys get that? Box 3, you're pretty much going, hey, we're taking it, right? So if things get frothy, you'll see people competing in that arena. Almost all the offers will be box 1, okay, or something like that. Sometimes even box 2 or box 3. So know the document is really where I'm going with that. The thing about those things that I want you to really, really think about is if you go box 1 and you represent a buyer and they do an inspection, it comes back kind of so-so. Don't expect to be able to just go back and because it says right there you're taking the house as is. So if Sandy writes one of those to me and she comes back and goes, well, they're kind of getting cold feet because of the inspection, all that kind of stuff. And I go, what are they getting cold feet about? And she'll tell me, and I go, well, we got a box 1 here. So let me know what you want to do. To me, it's accept or cancel. That's what it is. Now, if there's something significant that showed up that none of us could have foresaw, like Sandy calls me and goes, Lonnie, you're not going to believe this, but the sewer line is collapsed on that house. We can live with all the other knickknacks, but we're looking at a $10,000 sewer line per Raylan. She came in and just bid it. And I'm like, okay, that's a different story. Okay. That tells me I'm not going to have the same conversation with Sandy. Hey, this is take it, or cancel, right? Because I know when she cancels on me, I got a $10,000 sewer line to deal with the next family. Why wouldn't I do it with her? You guys get that? So totally different. You got to understand, read these documents and they'll start to become more and more, you'll be more and more familiar with them on how to navigate and use these things. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I get some input. So to me, my thoughts whenever I got the in its present condition box 1, to me as a listing agent, I don't feel like that's very strong. I would rather have someone have inspection rights because then they actually have to ask for repairs versus they can just walk away for whether the inspection is good or bad.
Yep.
They can just walk away if they want to.
Yeah.
So to me, I would rather have them have regular inspection rights than a box 1.
There's a guy named Nathan Priest here, pretty sharp guy that kind of feels the same way, oddly enough. So you're not alone in that. But that's just a matter of opinion. What we don't know is what kind of conversation did Sandy have with her buyer behind the scenes as to do the buyer really understand the differences and the options that they had. So we just don't know that. But there is that perception, hey man, we're as is box 1. And for me, I kind of bite my lip. I'm like, okay, we'll see how that goes. Ryan?
Box 2 is kind of walkable for a little while, but what I like about it is their earnest money's locked up at that point. Cancel if you want to, but we're keeping your earnest. So that's where that conversation is getting at, that full point of earnest money. If you're holding it now, and if they don't like the way the paint looks in bedroom 2, I'm sorry about it. We're not changing it.
Yeah.
That's kind of, it locks them in a little bit more. Box 1, I think, is really pretty weak. But what we'll see, if we see this market heat up, you will see listing agents, they will put that amendment in there, that waiver, I'm sorry, in their supplement section, and almost requesting you fill that out. You don't have to submit an offer with that if you don't want to, your buyer's not ready to, but they're forecasting that you go ahead and tell them your waiving corrections, and every listing agent out there that doesn't want to negotiate will want you to fill that out. Absolutely.
Yeah. Short inspection period. The 10-day default is in the contract. Sometimes when things get really, really frothy, people put in 5 days or 7 days. That's all fine. Just be sure you can do it in that period of time. You guys get that? So don't be going, oh, we got the house, but we've got this 5-day inspection period and I'm heading out of town. That's going to be kind of tough. You've got to understand what you just got your buyer into and have those inspectors ready to go and queued up, maybe even have them reserve a time. All that kind of stuff would be advisable before you go changing that too much. Does that make sense? And I'm talking about obviously a deal that would have an inspection period.
I have to say on that note, there's a couple homes still, Julia and Josh has found one recently in Belton. Mainstay, I think it is, one of the bigger, hedge funds. They're not open on weekends, so take that into account and write that offer and need those inspection days.
Yeah. Last thing, Scott Swaggert's the expert at this. Wish Scotty was here today, but I think he's in Phoenix or coming back from Phoenix. What you guys will do to help get houses is you'll go, hey, Paul sends me an offer and goes, hey, we're doing normal inspections, but I've put a clause in here that says nothing is in an unacceptable condition. In other words, they can't ask me for any repairs unless it's a single item over $1,000 or $2,000. So that takes out all the knickknack stuff. You guys get that? Now, if the sewer line shows up, okay, if a bad hot water heater, air conditioner, any of that kind of stuff, that's in play. Okay, you guys see the difference there. There's no laundry list of knickknacks in that. I think we see a lot of that early on as the market heats up. You'll start seeing people put limiting clauses in there. Has anybody ever used that? A few of you have. Yeah, think about that. That's a good one. All right, anything else? I went way over.
Last thing I did think of, thank you, Lonnie, is that helpful? Is that helpful as we're gearing up? Because as anybody see in the spring market starting to ramp up maybe a little sooner than we even expected?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So good stuff. Appreciate that. Paul did his Scene in 7 challenge. If you did the video challenge last week where you were making 1 video a day and you completed that, get with Paul, send him a text, let him know, and he'll do a drawing for the $50 Amazon gift card from all those people that completed it. So good job there. Anything else you want to say about that, Paul?
Nope, I'm working on 28 days. So
28 days.
Wow.
I like it.
anybody else wants to?
All right. Very good. All right. Well, that's all we got. I see lunch is here, so let's take a break, go to the restroom, whatever you need to do. We'll lunch and learn here at 11:30. Take your microphone.
Yep.
It does help. At the same time, say that like do everything else, but it needs to be done. You know, and know. Like, what do I feel like doing?
Pop by.
Yeah, like you don't have to like go do, that thing, you've done this one, just do two.
Yeah, definitely.
They didn't go.
Yeah.